Today's lesson is 10.4 space figures. The two types of space figures that we're going to look at today are pyramids and prisms. So before we get started, I just want you to look at the different types of pyramids that are on, just have a little video. So if we look, this first shape here is a triangular pyramid. Notice it has a triangle base and then the sides fold up to a point, which makes it a pyramid. Here we have a rectangular pyramid. It has a rectangle base and again triangle sides that fold up to a point. You can see the rectangle base and then the four triangle sides that fold up to make the pyramid. Here's a pentagonal pyramid. It has a pentagon for a base and then 5 triangle sides that fold up to a point. That's the net of the drawing. The sides fold up to make a pyramid. This here is a hexagonal pyramid and it has 6 sides for a 6-sided base and then 6 triangles that fold up to make the hexagon. So we have the net and then the hexagonal pyramid. Now the other one that we can look at, the other shape is our prisms. Here we have a triangular prism. You can see the sides are triangles and then they're connected together by rectangles. So it's 2 triangle bases and then rectangular sides. So we have a rectangular prism, 2 rectangular faces, and then it's connected together by all rectangles. It's a rectangular prism. So in prisms, all the sides are rectangles. Here's a pentagon base, and pentagon bases and then rectangular sides connecting it together. And then we have an octagonal prism which has octagon bases and then rectangle sides connecting the 2 bases together. So those are just some fun videos to look at. So let's get into the notes. Get out a piece of paper and we're going to start taking notes on the 2 different types of space figures. The figures below are common 3-dimensional figures, also called space figures or solids. So space figures are really just solids. The space figures that we're going to study in this book, there's going to be prisms, pyramids, cylinders, cones, and spheres. And we're going to talk about them all in this section. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a prism. And like we saw in the video, prisms have 2 parallel bases. You want to write this definition down in your notes. It has 2 parallel bases that are congruent, which means that they're the same size, polygons, and lateral faces that are parallelograms. So here we have let's count how many sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a 6-sided figure is called a hexagon. I didn't even spell that right. Hexagon. And it's a pyramid because all of its faces that connect the 2 hexagons together are rectangles. So the lateral faces, or the faces that connect the 2 polygons together, so the lateral faces connect the 2 polygons together. This is called, because the base is a hexagon and the lateral faces are rectangles, this would be a hexagonal prism. Now the other type of space figure is a pyramid. It has a base that's a polygon and then the lateral faces are triangles, where over here the lateral faces are parallelograms. So here's the base and again, the base is a hexagon. So this is going to be a hexagonal. But instead of having rectangular lateral faces, this has triangular lateral faces. And those triangular lateral faces make this shape a pyramid. Just like the pyramids that you study in world studies, when you studied Egypt, they come to a point. This is called a hexagonal pyramid. Make sure you get that all copied down in your notes before you move on. The other three figures that we're going to look at, one is a cylinder, and it has two parallel bases that are circles. So here's the circle on the top. Here is the circle on the bottom. And then the side that wraps around it kind of like a bean can, and if you took the paper off a can of soup or a can of beans or any can of vegetables, that's the lateral surface. This here is a cone, and the cone has a circular base, and then it has one vertex, and this is the vertex up here. If you think about this, this is like an ice cream cone. And if you think about this part that wraps around here, when you get an ice cream cone, a sugar cone, it has that paper that's wrapped around the bottom for sanitary reasons. That's what makes up that kind of that lateral surface that goes to a vertex. And the last one is a sphere. And a sphere is a set of all points in a space that are a given distance from the center. So any point that we find on the sphere is always going to be the same distance from the center point in the sphere. So examples of spheres would be basketballs, baseballs, golf balls. If you could find the very center, any point from the center of that sphere to any of its edges is going to be the same distance. Make sure you get those definitions copied down in your notes before you move on. Okay, so what we need to do today is the goal of today's lesson is to be able to name space figures. So we're going to try this. So if we look at this figure here, we notice that it has two parallel triangular bases. So we know for sure that it's going to be a triangular, and because it's connected by rectangles, we know that it is a prism. Here we have two bases. In what shape are these two bases? They're quadrilaterals, but they're a specific type of quadrilateral with only one pair of parallel sides, and that's a trapezoid. So this is called a trapezoidal. And because it has the lateral sides are rectangles, it's called a prism, trapezoidal prism. This here we have two circle bases, and anything with two circle bases is called a cylinder. And this here, one of my favorite shapes because it reminds me of ice cream cones, and that's my favorite thing to eat. This here is a cone. So let's look at these shapes here. What space figure can you form from each of these nets? Well, I notice that here all of the sides are triangles. So when a side is a lateral side is a triangle, I know that this is going to be a pyramid because it's all going to come to a point. So I know this is a pyramid, but what kind? So I have to look at the base and how many sides are there in the base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which makes this a hexagonal pyramid. here we have two triangular bases that are parallel. So we know that it's going to be triangular, and its lateral faces are rectangles. So when the lateral faces are rectangles, that makes it a prism. Here we have, why don't you try these on your own? Pause the video for a minute, try them on your own, and then come back and we'll check to see if your answers are right. Okay, here we have a triangular base and triangular lateral faces. So this is a triangular pyramid. Here we have two parallel faces or bases that are squares. So this is called a square because the lateral faces are squares. It's called a prism. Otherwise, something that has all square prism or all square faces, its special name is called a cube. Well, that is it for today's lesson. If you have any questions, jot them down and bring them to class tomorrow. Thanks.